Well, a good Friday. Thank you for tuning in to the Gardeners Corner program, a Friday feature here on TV Channel 10, located on Charter Communications, Channel 191. My name is Rob Hall. We welcome you into the program. That's also on WKRX 96.7 FM. We're brought to you today by T.G. Brooks Company, located downtown Timberlake, where, believe it or not, they have snow sleds. And we're also brought to you by Sandling Golf Cars, located 613 Lewis Street in Oxford. I'd like to make welcome our guest of the day. It's Mr. Gary Cross, who is the crops agent for the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, and he covers both Granville and Person counties. And Gary's a heck of a nice fella, and glad to have you back.
Well, I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here with Rob Hall, the man, the legend.
Well, before you pump it up
Question is, can I go to T.G. Brooks and get snow shovels?
Oh, yes, they've got it out there. They've got your ice melting everything.
Wow.
And, Gary, they're talking, we could get maybe close to 10 inches of snow.
That's a lot of snow for this part of the country.
That's a bunch of snow. It sure is. And, the snow is one thing, but, Saturday the highs are expected to be in the 20s. And then we're supposed to have some overnight lows on Saturday and Sunday nights down to almost the single digits. And so, this is something
Be
to
prepared.
really take seriously. And we'll talk about a few things.
I've got a question. You've got horses. What are you going to do? You got to go out and break water? What are you going to do with those horses?
Well, we actually have an automatic waterer for our horses, and although we turned it off the other day and we set up a water trough, a Rubbermaid watering trough, and we actually have an electric heater that goes in to hopefully keep it from freezing. But it was kind of a strange situation when we turned the water off to the automatic waterer. The horses went out to it and wanted water, and there was no water there, so they kind of started pawing and kicking on the waterer. Well, we had set the water trough all up, and finally, after about 6 hours or so, we finally, got them to come up there, and drink some of the water. But, Gary, one thing that I want to tip my hat to, not only you, but the other Cooperative Extension Service agents, is the little, bi-monthly newsletter that you all send out. And we received it within the last few weeks or so. And I got to reading parts of it that Kim Woods had put in there. And she was addressing more like less keeping fresh water,
right,
for your livestock, horses and things like that.
Especially during this cold spell.
That's right. And this time of the year, when we're having freezing temperatures, it's really important to keep fresh water there.
That's correct.
But one thing that I found interesting, it was saying in the report that cattle and horses, sometimes will consume between 5 and 10 gallons of water per head per day. And another thing that was kind of interesting in the horses, they were saying that if you used like a tank heater to keep the drinking water, a little bit warmer than being right at freezing, that, horses like the water not being, freezing cold. They like it to where it's not necessarily hot, but a long way from being freezing. And one thing about horses that they have trouble with a lot of times is this time of the year is a horse can get colicky. And, one way to help a horse from getting colicky is ensuring that they are getting enough water to drink. But then, the question arises, how do you get a horse to drink more water? And one thing that we try to do
is how do you lead a horse to water?
That's right. You can lead them to water, but you can't.
That's a Carl Cantaloupe right there.
But one thing that we always try to keep, a salt block or something.
That's a good idea.
And basically, they lick the salt block, and the salt makes them thirsty, and they drink water. And I've heard the pros and cons of automatic waterers versus watering, in troughs or buckets. And, some people say that they don't like an automatic waterer because they cannot tell how much water, their cattle or the horses are consuming. That's where when you're watering, in a trough, you can see the water level going down and things like that. But yet and still, I kind of feel like whether it's chickens, dogs, horses, cattle, or like me, when you drink water, you want the cleanest, freshest water that's available at that.
They've done. There's been work done in relation to water with cattle, and I think Kim may have even told me this. Kim Woods, that the cleaner the water, the better it is for animals, because you don't have all the different bacteria problems with the cleaner water or filter water. But you can't do that in a lot of places. You got to, you got ponds and you got other things, but the question I need to ask you, Rob, is, we're coming on a winter storm here, and, people's got we've got animals of all types in Person County, from horses at your place to cattle to dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And people need to get out and take care of them.
That's right. And, you bring up a good point there. It's a struggle enough, making provisions to keep you and your family warm, but when you do have dogs, cats, if possible, bring them inside. If not, make sure that they have, warm bedding, whether it's fresh shavings or clean straw, make sure that they've got some place that they can, get out of the wind or whatever. And I remember one time asking a fellow down in Berea that had a lot of cattle, and most of his fencing was electric fencing. And I asked the question, I said, whenever it's snow and ice, I said, and limbs are falling, no electricity, breaking your fences down and things, I said, how do you keep your cattle in? He said, if you give them plenty to eat, they have no desire to roam anywhere. And so that's one thing. If you've got horses and cattle, make sure that you got plenty of forage, things for them to eat. Give them extra hay. And, I know everybody tries to be conservative with the hay and don't want to waste it. But when it's cold and all of this going to be, they need to have hay readily available whenever they want it.
He's correct on that. When I worked out west for Texas A&M, they put a lot of stocker cattle just out on wheat, and probably wasn't enough for them to eat, and probably didn't give them enough hay. And we'd have, blowing winds, snowstorms, and those cattle would, go over drifts, because the drifts would be higher than this desk that we're sitting at, and they would walk for miles and miles with the wind at their back, because they were looking for something to eat on top, because the snow was covered the wheat, and there was no hay out there or anything else. And you're right about that. You need to have plenty of feed for them. If you're going to go out tonight and feed, you need to do that. You probably have to go back again, because they'll eat a lot more in these types of conditions than they will in any, in a normal day, because they just burn a lot of energy, and they need that energy back in their system And I'm not an expert at horses, and you know more about horses than I do, but you're right. I mean, they got a salt block, or they got to have a lot of water with them. And a lot of farmers already know this, but even a consumer that has a dog or a cat, you better be, and you have them outside, better be breaking a water pan for them.
That's right. Make sure they got plenty of fresh water, even though it's cold outside. They like to drink, and livestock and pets and things. They've got one beverage that they prefer, and that's water. To where us humans, we like to drink hot coffee, milk, and alcoholic beverages and all that.
So you'll be out tonight feeding the horses, won't you?
I ain't gonna say I'll be out tonight, but before we go in, we'll make sure that they've got, plenty of hay, and make sure that the water's not frozen, and which I'll be working here at the radio station in the morning, but my dad he'll be up in the morning checking them out and things like that. And one good thing, that with the progression of farming, with a lot of these, tractors out now that have cabs and things.
Four-wheel drive.
That's right, four-wheel drive. It makes it a lot easier on the farmers to get out in inclement weather to tend to the stock and things. But, I can only imagine years ago when people used to have to tote water, from the creek up to the livestock barn, so.
What can I ask a question? What's your weather prediction? What are you hearing?
Well, what I'm hearing is we could get, close to, 10 inches of snow, and, said it's going to be extremely cold, and once that snow falls, it's going to just lay here. And, here at the station, Conrad has already put out some ice melt on the sidewalk.
I noticed that when I came in.
And he's always good about doing that, and we'll just have to wait and see. Hey, I think we've got a caller. Kilby, that is for us, isn't it? It is. Well, good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Good morning, Rob. Greetings from Pennsylvania.
Oh, no.
Well, Bobby, daggum. It's the all-seeing, the all-knowing, the big kahuna himself, all the way from Pennsylvania, the retired Mr. Carl Cantalupi. A good day to you, my friend. How are you?
Good, just fine. Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I took your spot on a joke, I think. Rob was talking about his horses and watering horses. I said, well, how do you lead a horse to water? I thought that's a Carl Cantalupi right there.
I know a corollary to that joke, but I can't say it on the
air. Well, Carl, Happy New Year, and I hope things are going well for you and Ruth.
Just great. We got about an inch of snow last night. Right now, temperatures are around 31, 32. Got down to around 14 last night. And they say as long as the storm, as it comes up from the south, as long as it tracks on the eastern seaboard, we won't get any more. But if it shifts west, then we'll get some of what you're getting. Otherwise, we're not supposed to get any more.
Rob, Carl, the rumor is out. Yes, Ruth has to shovel the snow. I'm just stunned about that.
Wow. Well, Carl, they're saying that we could maybe get between 6 and 10 inches here, and it's supposed to be really cold. I think Saturday night and maybe even Sunday night, down into around 10 to 12 degrees, and maybe colder than that. And, once the snow falls and things like that, and tomorrow, Saturday, I think the high is supposed to be in the 20s. But, Carl, I'm glad you called, and I know you're retired, but I do have something I want to ask you about, if you don't mind answering the question.
Okay, sure. Uh-huh.
I know in years past on the program, whenever they was calling for bad weather and things, you was really good about talking about de-icers and, putting out things on the sidewalk about some of the things you could put out could be harmful to plants and grass, and then just some of the things that you could put out could be a little bit harmful to the surface that you're putting it on. But what I really wanted to ask, I don't remember, but it seems to me you have said that these ice melters would only work down to a certain temperature, but when it got colder than that,
That's right.
It wouldn't do any good. So could you refresh my memory on that?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at a few different ones. Calcium chloride is the traditional one that's, available. No, I'm sorry. Rock salt is sodium chloride, and that's the least expensive material available, and it's effective down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, but of course rock soil can damage soils, plants, and metals and paving surfaces. Calcium chloride will melt ice down to 25 degrees, and it forms kind of a slippery, slimy surface on concrete and other hard surfaces, and plants usually aren't harmed unless you use excessive amounts. It's fast-acting and more effective than rock salts. Again, that's calcium chloride versus sodium chloride, which is rock salt. There are other products. I don't know how easily available they are. It might be hard to find some of these, but magnesium chloride is effective down to -13 and is more effective than sodium chloride. It can damage plants, however. Potassium chloride is effective down to 25 degrees, also injures plants. Urea sometimes, well, we all know that it's a fertilizer. It's sometimes used to melt ice. It's only 10% as corrosive as sodium chloride, but it can contaminate ground and surface water with nitrates. It's effective down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, but works better between 25 to 30, and can damage plants if you over-apply them. Probably the safest material is calcium magnesium acetate. Or CMA. It's a newer product. It's made from dolomitic limestone, which contains magnesium, and acetic acid, which is the principal compound in vinegar. And CMA works differently than the others in that it doesn't form a brine-like salt, but rather helps prevent snow particles from sticking to each other on the road surface. It has little effect on plant growth, but can damage concrete surfaces. It's less corrosive than chloride products. The performance of CMA decreases below 20 degrees. But I guess the thing to remember is practice moderation when you use any type of ice melters around plants, because salts can injure plants in several ways. The chloride ion is considered the most toxic element of the de-icing salts, causing much of the direct plant tissue damage. And when salt sprays from puddles onto plants as cars drive by, it may scorch leaves or kill buds and twig tips on plants that lose their leaves, especially during the spring. Pines in general are noted for their sensitivity to roadside de-icing salts. When they're affected, pine needles may become pale green, yellow, or brown. If dying vegetation is on the side of the plants facing the road, the damage has likely been caused by salt spray. So that's an easy way to figure it out. If you have only one side of the plants, having brown needles, and generally this damage doesn't show up until later in the spring, then you can bet it's de-icing salt, especially if a lot of salt has been applied. Also, salt in the soil makes it difficult for plant roots to absorb water. Excess sodium affects the soil structure and may result in poor infiltration and increased erosion. The sodium ions can displace essential plant nutrients, and it can decrease soil fertility. Salt accumulation in the soil also can inhibit seed germination of grasses and wildflowers. So you really have to watch it.
Right.
The level of damage varies depending on the concentration of salts in the water running onto your plants, the amount of snowfall, the timing of rains that may help wash off the leaves, the type of soil, and the condition of the plants. So healthy, mature plants that are not drought stressed will withstand salts better than newly established young plants. So if you suspect salt damage, or if you know that salt has been sitting on the soil, especially if you've salted your driveway and when you shovel, you're shoveling the salts right into the flower beds, take the garden hose and leach the salts below the root zone of the plants. That's the best thing you can do.
Okay. Well, Carl, I guess it's safe to say that if we do get, several inches of snow, the best way to do is to take a shovel and clear the sidewalk or the driveway of snow, and then maybe put some ice melter down to try to keep, if any water should run across the walking areas, maybe the de-icer would help it from freezing to ice to cause a hazard.
And when you shovel, if you've got excess salt you want to get rid of, don't shovel the salt onto the flower beds. Toss it on the lawn, maybe spread it out over a wider area.
That's a good idea. And something else, when you're shoveling, when it's cold, you may not sweat, but just don't overdo it, because you could cause yourself to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You could cause yourself personal injury. Maybe pull a muscle or hurt your back or something. But
too, if it's slippery, you don't want to fall. As our friend Don Carroll used to say, don't fall down and break your contract.
That's right. That's right. Carl, something else I thought about this the other day, and I used to kind of feel the same way until you kind of taught me different. And what it was about, a lot of people used to say, I'd like to see a cold winter, because maybe if we had a cold winter, it would kill all these insects and bugs.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, you have told me that cold weather does not have any effect on the bug and pest population, correct?
That's correct. Now, a lot of the insects that we have in North Carolina blow up, in storms during the summer, like aphids and leafhoppers and thrips. So those insects don't typically overwinter here anyway. But other insects that do, and you must have been reading my mind, because I was pulling stuff together to talk about today, and I pulled that very information that I have. Some insects can cope with cold weather, and so the insects, they have kind of two mechanisms for surviving the effects of cold. First is insects are cold-blooded, and they don't regulate their own temperature. So this is a disadvantage to insects that want to warm themselves up, but it's also a huge advantage, since their bodies can tolerate a wide range of body temperatures. They stop moving when they're cold, as long as they don't freeze solid. Most can wait until temperatures warm back up and then continue doing whatever they're doing. They also burrow deep into, organic matter, leaf litter. They also have a life cycle stage called diapause, and the insect becomes almost completely metabolically inactive. It doesn't eat, drink, grow, or move for a period that can extend to months, and it doesn't expend energy. So in that way, they can tolerate a lot of cold weather. In a lot of cases, diapause in insects is triggered by day length, meaning that they can tell winter is coming by the ratio between hours of sunlight and darkness, and they use this information to enter a state of diapause before winter weather arrives. So in other words, diapause is entered when temperatures begin to lower in the winter, or when food becomes scarce. And despite the trigger that causes the insect to go into diapause, this genetically ingrained survival mechanism protects many insects from temperatures reaching far below the normal and well below freezing. So you can see a lot of things come into play, with the diapause technique, and also insects burrowing down into leaf litter. So just because it gets cold, the insects that can overwinter, that doesn't mean that the cold weather is going to kill them out, because they have ways of surviving.
Well, Carl, appreciate you sharing that information with us, and I know it's a lot of people that enjoy snow and things like that. I'm not one particularly fond of it. But, as long as we don't lose electricity and things, I think that we'll be okay. But we'll go ahead and put this out. If you know an elderly person or someone that's maybe not so fortunate, if you can, maybe check on them over the next few days or so.
I agree fully.
Offer them a hot meal, or
check see if they got heat on.
That's right.
Sir, you would be shocked that they keep it at a low level. Not to expend income or whatever, and go and check on them.
That's right. Carl, another question for you. I know in the past when we would talk about, fruit trees, we would talk about certain varieties needed so many chilling hours, correct?
That's correct,
And now, does the chilling hours make any difference, whether it's 25 degrees or 10 degrees?
A chilling hour is any hour where the temperature goes below 40 degrees. And so chilling hours accumulate over time. So if it's 40 or less, to answer your question, no, it doesn't make any difference. So if it stays, 25 degrees for 6 hours, each hour counts as one chilling hour, regardless of what temperature it is.
As long as it's below 40.
That's right. And
all right, then now I'm gonna get you to do one other thing. Explain it one more time, and I kind of find this fascinating. And you said that you were taught this by a professor some great number of years ago.
Oh, about soil temperatures?
That's exactly right. Have you ever heard this, Gary?
I'm with Carl Cantalupi, nothing surprises me.
All right, go ahead, Carl.
Well, yeah, many years ago when I was working in Oklahoma, the state vegetable specialist, Dr. Jim Motes, told me this fact, and I didn't realize this before either. When soil freezes, well, first of all, soil is a great insulator for plant roots. As long as you have soil covering roots of plants, they're not going to be damaged. But the actual temperature of the soil never gets any colder than 32 degrees.
Yeah,
if that wasn't true, all the tree roots of plants would die. What happens if air temperatures get colder than 32 in the soil, that 32 degrees just extends deeper and deeper into the soil, which is meant by the frost line.
Right.
So, of course, in the more northern states, the frost line is deeper than in the south. But still, it's only 32 degrees, regardless of the depth. Now, if you have cracks in the soil where cold air can kind of get down in there, then you can get root injury. But as long as you have soil covering, it insulates. And then another thing that people find it hard to believe, a lot of people think if you have a high snow cover, you have several inches of snow covering the soil, this is going to harm plants, like maybe strawberries, for example, over winter. But the opposite is true. Snow is also a good insulator. And in fact, in the northern states, a lot of strawberry growers don't bother using mulch, to cover the plants in the winter. They use the snow cover to act as the mulch. So a good soil cover, a good covering of snow, this all adds tremendous insulation to plants. And you don't have anything to fear that the plants are going to, be injured or die.
May I ask a question, Rob?
Yes, go right ahead, Gary.
I don't think we're going to have a lot of ice with this storm. They're talking maybe some sleet, but Carl, I know you've answered these questions before. We get trees that get heavy, they break limbs, or how do you explain to a client out there that you've got a broken tree limb? Is the tree done?
Okay.
You understand where I'm coming from on this question?
Yep. Okay. If you have ice, freezing on plants, the best thing to do is to not act in a hurry. don't be in a hurry to start pruning a branch that's bent out of shape due to the weight of the ice. Often, a lot of times, in a few days following the damage, the plant will straighten up on its own. If you have broken limbs, of course, you can prune those immediately. Make clean cuts with sharp tools. If the plant is completely misshapen after you do corrective pruning, consider pruning it where the entire plant, where the new growth will be in balance. Also, you can straighten trees by using cabling or guying. You can straighten them by attaching a cable or a guy about 3/4 of the way up, and then pulling them back into position. And be certain to pad the tree to protect against the wire damage. In other words, run a wire through a piece of old garden hose so that rests on the tree limb, so that it doesn't cut into the cambium and girdle it. The trees that are uprooted should be immediately straightened and staked. Remove any damaged roots or limbs by pruning. Keep the tree mulched and watered during stress periods. So those are, again, I was looking through my stuff, and I had it right there.
Boy, we can't stump Carl Cantalupi Day, is it? But there is one thing also. When you have cold days like this, usually a good hot pot of chili will come out at the Cantalupi residence. I'm missing that good hot pot of chili that would come out on these cold days. Rob is too. He's smiling and laughing up here.
I've never had the chili. Although I've had other things that Ruth has prepared. And by the way, Carl, thanks for the last shipment of goodies.
Sure, you're welcome.
Gary was telling me that you sent him some goodies as well, and I will tell you this: if you ever come across some of those potato chips that is made in Pennsylvania, and the date will be expiring within a couple of weeks or whatever, I guarantee you, if you send them to North Carolina, they will never see the expire date. Because they are really wonderful potato chips. Carl, do you know the name of them off the top of your head?
Middlesworth. It's pronounced Middlesworth, but it's Middles instead of W-O-R-T-H. It's W-A-R-T-H.
Write that down, Rob. I can't remember that.
Middlesworth, made in Middleburg, Pennsylvania.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's maybe just tuned into the program by way of telephone. Mr. Carl Cantalupi is speaking with myself and Gary Cross. And, Carl retired from the Extension Service, and him and his wife bought a home in Pennsylvania. And Carl has been kind enough to send, some treats to myself, and he has also sent Gary some to North Carolina. And the two different times that he has sent us some potato chips, it's been the Middlesworth potato chips, and they're
tremendous.
They're the same price as potato chips in the store, but I did see somebody had some of these Middlesworth potato chips, the barbecue flavor, for sale on Craigslist.
Yeah, you told me that.
$20 a bag.
That's amazing.
Rob needs to get a distributorship down here, Carl. That's what I'm trying to talk him into doing. He used to work with, he knows how to do distributors. He knows all the people, the stores. Get them down here.
But
you can get rich quick, sure.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe what we could do till we could get that started, maybe we could get Carl to load his van up with a few cases and deliver them down to North Carolina.
I love that theory. I like the aspect of Carl on a very snowy day, sitting in his picture window, drinking coffee, watching Ruth scoop the snow.
But
I'm giving you a hard time, Carl.
Yeah. Carl, it's good to
We
hear
were talking about the chili.
Oh, yeah.
And I told Ruth that Gary's going to ask about chili. I know he is. And we just had some last night. She made a fresh batch, and I said, boy, it's a shame, there wasn't any for Gary. And Ruth says, well, he didn't. It's here. He didn't come up.
Thanks, Carl. I really, I really appreciate that.
So, Carl, everything is going well for you and Ruth?
Yeah, everything's going great. In fact, it's amazing how I fit in with the people up here, and also with the friends in the horticultural and vegetable industry. This Saturday we're going to the Pennsylvania Farm Show in Harrisburg. They have it for 2 weeks in January, and the Pennsylvania Vegetable Growers Association has a booth where they sell batter dip vegetables, vegetable soups, a lot of different things made with vegetables. So Ruth and I are going to be serving from 8 until 3 this Saturday, and then we're going to do it again the following Saturday. Harrisburg is about an hour south of where we live.
I would guarantee you, Carl, if you just served chili up there that Ruth made and you wanted to make a little money, you would get wealthy quick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all the money that's raised goes to Penn State for vegetable research. So
that's outstanding.
Yeah, so they've been doing this for many, many years. So.
And Carl, I'm glad that you're able to do some volunteering. And you told me that, I believe on Christmas Day, that you and Ruth went to the church that you all worship at, and they had a big holiday meal that was open to any and everyone, and that you and Ruth helped serve the people there. And so that's very good that y'all are getting out and volunteering, and enough can't be said about people that volunteer their time and effort to help someone else out.
Yeah, it makes you feel really good. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Probably served around 400 people.
Wow, that's excellent. That's outstanding.
Well, look here, Carl. Appreciate you calling. Again, a happy New Year to you, and thank you for your friendship, and a special hello to Ruth. And any idea when you're going to be making your way for a visit to North Carolina?
Oh, I don't know, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I do, and we'll pack the van with provisions.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
All right, Carl. Again, thank you.
Take care, Gary.
Thank you, Carl.
And the best of luck on this winter weather. I know in Pennsylvania y'all will get more than we do down here, most likely. But best of luck on everything, and.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing. Good. I send my wishes to Johnny Coley.
Yeah.
Good luck to him. I think he's going to do a great job for everybody in Extension, and he's already hitting the ground running. So I have no doubt he'll do a great job for you.
Well, sounds good. All right, my friend. Have a good day, and thank you again for calling.
All right. We'll see you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mr. Carl Cantaluppi right there. Hey, we're going to get a word on for one of our fine supporting sponsors, T.G. Brooks Company. They've been in business since 1936. And you know what? If you need a snow sled, they've got them, both the plastic and the metal snow sleds available at T.G. Brooks Company. And also, if you need ice melting, de-icers, and snow shovels, go see them at T.G. Brooks Company. We'll be back right after this message.
T.G. Brooks Company wishes you a successful 2017. We probably will get a taste of real winter and cold winter days and nights in January, which suggests a trip out to T.G. Brooks Company, 413 Helena Maria Road in Timberlake. Cold weather needs are found like furnace filters, stove pipe and stove mats, wood stove, pipe insulation, plastic to put around your windows. You will find water heater elements, thermostats, pressure relief valves. Taylor water stoves and parts are available too. Also ice melt, bird seed in 10, 25, and 50-pound bags, and sunflower and black oil seed. There are shovels for ice or snow. They have wedges, axes, and mauls for getting stove wood ready. They have gloves lined and unlined in leather and cloth. They are your first choice for well pumps and piping when water problems occur, with a selection of submersible and top-of-the-ground jet pumps. They have pipe, pump wire, and pipe fittings too. They also carry cast iron cookware, and they fill propane gas bottles. Plenty of dog food and 100% kiln-dried cedar shavings. You might need an outdoor thermometer. Plan to spend a little time at T.G. Brooks talking about warmer days in a couple of months and getting information on your future lawn and garden plans. In a couple of months, we'll be talking about putting out pre-emergent weed control. Come to the place people like to shop from all over the region for the homeowner, farmer, or construction worker. Phone anytime you need advice at 364-2428. After all is said and done, get you a generous portion of hand-cut ribeye steaks, prepared the way you like them, pop them on your grill, and enjoy a delicious treat. Everything works out when you have a T.G. Brooks Day. No week is complete without a visit to T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake.
Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. Our special guest today, Gary Cross, who is the crops agent for Granville and Person counties for the Cooperative Extension Service. And we appreciate Mr. Carl Cantalupi for calling in and sharing some information with us. Look, I need to kind of make a retraction, so to speak. During the break when we was hearing some information from T.G. Brooks Company, I actually called out to T.G. Brooks Company and I spoke with Sean, and Sean told me, he said, Rob, we just sold the last few sleds that we had. So T.G. Brooks Company is sold out of snow sleds. And, you know, Gary,
they still had snow shovels, though.
Yeah, I'm sure they can help you out
and,
with that.
And ice melt.
But, you know, this time of the year, you never know what the weather's going to be around here. And it's kind of impossible to have an endless supply of snow sleds. And then just right after Christmas, I'm sure they had sold a lot of them during the Christmas season.
Busy place.
But nice people out there at T.G. Brooks Company. Gary, if you would, we've got a few more minutes, and I'm sorry we took up so much time talking.
No, to be frank with you, that was quite enjoyable and extraordinarily informative for the issues that are going to be coming up here in the next day or two. And I think, you starting off talking about the watering the animals and then leading into Carl's issue in relation to all the horticulture issues and the ice melts, and that is very, and then talking to the T.G. Brooks Company about, sleds and all these different things, ice melt and shovels. That's very relevant to what's going to happen here the next 2 days.
That's right. You're right. It sure is.
My issue is, we're going to have a series of meetings here starting next week, and one of them is the Granville Oxford area GAP meeting, Good Agricultural Practices GAP meeting, which is required for tobacco growers to come to. Person County, we have a lot from the eastern part that go to the Oxford one. The western half normally go to the one in Caswell County, and that's the 23rd of January. That's on a Monday. The one in Oxford is the 13th of January, Friday the 13th of January, Rob. And that'll start about 8:30, and come on over, and you got to have the training. And plus we're giving 2 hours of X credit for pesticide, so you can easily get your 2 hours for X credit. Then we have another one on the 23rd over in Caswell County, Yanceyville, at the what I call the Civic Center over there. Very nice place.
Now, where will the meeting be at in Oxford on the 13th?
It will be at the Granville County Expo Center.
On Highway 15.
On Highway 15. Rob, you've been there many times.
Yeah, nice place.
Nice place. So, and we'll have a series of speakers talking about labor issues. Worker protection standard is a thing that's come up this year. Again, we'll talk about tobacco insects, the new inputs, and what's going on. Also with issues related to disease and fertility management. So we got a full slate going there. And that'll be the same thing over at the February 20, or at the, excuse me, the January 23rd meeting also. We also have on January 30th Safety V training, because most private applicators and producers have to have a VNX to keep their private applicator license. And we'll be having a V training from 5 to 7 at the Roxborough, where the extension office is, government building, and South Morgan Street. And that'll be at 5 to 7 for V credit only, and we won't be having any X credit. I'll be having another one in Oxford on February, I believe the 8th, and it'll be from 5 to 7 at the Cooperative Extension Office. And then on the 28th, I'll have another one, again, another V training. And this is essential that they get this, because they don't, especially those that are up for 2017, their license, and they don't get it renewed. They have to take the test over and go through the whole process again, which a lot of them don't want to do that. So you want to get your V and X trainings in. In February, we're going to be having a small grains meeting, and we'll give a couple of X credits for that, and we're going to talk all about soybeans and wheat and maybe even a little malt barley. Let's hope so, since I've been working pretty hard in that project. And corn and some of the things that's come out, and some of the issues related to that. And that'll be in Franklin, in Lewisburg at Franklin County Extension office there. So we got a lot of meetings, a lot of projects going on out here, and I enjoyed the Carl Cantalupi input. I really did.
Well,
but
Carl's
I
a good friend and a good guy.
I think what you did in talking about the animals first, and in talking about pets also here with everybody a lot of people have pets, and then leading into the plants and the trees and all the different types of things related to winter issues was very time. You did good, Rob, on this. I think you really did.
Well, I appreciate that. If you have any questions about any of the upcoming meetings, you can contact Gary Cross by calling 336-599-1195. And if he's not there in the Person County office, you can leave a message for him, and a lot of times they can link you up to him, whether he's in the Granville County office or Person County office. Just call Gary, and he can get you whatever information you may need. We need to get a word on for Sandling Golf Cars. They're located in Oxford. If you're looking something to ride around in the upcoming snow on, they've got the XRTs. They've got golf cars with lift kits. Go see them at Sandling Golf Cars. They've got a huge selection of nice things that you would enjoy owning. We'll be back to close out right after this message.
Al, Hillary, and Will invite you to come see them at Sandling Golf Cars. If you're in the market for a golf car, a utility trailer, or a Wilmington grill, come on to Oxford and stop in at 613 Lewis Street, and there you will find Sandling Golf Cars. They're open for business weekdays 8 until 5, Saturdays 9 until 1. Visit the website sandlinggolfcars.com or call 919-693-4626, toll free 1-800-221-9267. Financing is available at Sandling Golf Cars. If you're in need of parts or repair on your golf cars, see Dennis and Bradley. Whether you're wanting new tires or new Trojan batteries, they've got it at Sandling Golf Cars, 613 Lewis Street in Oxford. If you're in the market for a trailer, they have everything from a tow dolly to open body utility trailers, equipment trailers, stock trailers, enclosed trailers. The list goes on. Stop in and see the friendly people at Sandling Golf Cars, 613 Lewis Street in Oxford. Call 919-693-4626 or toll free 1-800-221-9267. The name again, Sandling Golf Cars, located 613 Lewis Street in Oxford. Stop in and see them for all of your golf car needs. Utility trailers and Wilmington grills. That's Sandling Golf Cars, open weekdays 8 until 5, Saturdays 9 until 1. Call 919-693-4626 or toll free 221-9267. That name one more time, Sandline Golf Cars.
All righty, here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. Our special guest today has been Mr. Gary Cross. And again, if you are a farmer of crops and you've never met Mr. Gary Cross of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, give him a call sometimes and set up a little meeting, or maybe invite him out to your place. He's got a lot of knowledge that would be very helpful to you in your farming operation. You can call 336-599-1195. Well, Gary, that's going to about wrap it up. Appreciate you coming out today.
One other thing, can I ask, are you going to contact the radio station for weather updates?
Well, you know, I'm glad you made mention of that. If you would, keep your dial set to WKRX 96.7 FM, and we will keep you updated on the weather reports as we receive them, and also postponements, cancellations, and delays. We try to get those out as quickly as they come in. I know Person County schools are getting out of classes today early at 1:30, and also all after-school activities have been canceled for today and tomorrow, and it's several other things. But as the day goes on and the weather gets in this area, it will be a lot. And one thing I would say, if you would just listen in, and we'll update you on the postponements, cancellations, and delays. Please do not call the station asking about this and that, because it is extremely, I can't say it enough, extremely hectic when you're manning the station sole only by yourself, and you have people calling in postponements, cancellations, and delays, and then, you know, somebody wants to call in and wants to know what time's the state going to come and scrape our highway. You know, it's some things and some questions that we cannot answer, and I don't mean that in a wrong way. But again, thanks to our sponsors, T.G. Brooks Company and Sandline Golf Cars. Again, we want to wish each and all of you the very best during this inclement weather that we are expecting, and the extreme cold weather that's in the forecast over the next few days. With that, we'll say God bless, and thanks for tuning in to the Gardener's Corner program.